A lot of times, the dismissive avoidant attachment style in a relationship dynamic, be it a friendship, family relationship, or a romantic entanglement, they are not necessarily pulling away because of something you said or did. It is the timing that makes all of the difference. So, in the next 7 minutes, you are going to learn how mastering timing can radically shift the entire dynamic with a dismissive avoidant partner. But beyond that, you're going to learn about how to make sure that as you're learning about timing, and the different ways that communication tools can play a crucial role in how you connect with this person, that you are taking yourself into consideration simultaneously. This isn't about walking on eggshells. This is about understanding somebody else so that you can be considerate of them and find a way to also make sure that your needs are being seen and heard. And before anybody gets really into all of the comments here, I just want to say as well, like, this really isn't much different than, being mindful of an anxious attachment style partner. And if you need space from them as a more avoidant leaning person, I say, okay, yeah, you can take the space, but make sure you give something reassuring. Hey, I'm not going anywhere. I just need some time to process. Like, cater to understanding how they function and what's coming up for them. And by doing that, you ensure that communication can go a little bit further, right? So we want to take our attachment theory knowledge, understand different attachment styles, learn how they communicate, the subconscious set of rules that they're kind of living by in their lives, and bridge the gap between your attachment style and somebody else's. So at the end of this video specifically, we are going to talk about, after going through the three major things that we're going to discuss in regards to timing with the dismissive avoidant, we are going to go into what you can really do if you're a fearful avoidant or anxious attachment style in these scenarios, so you can make sure you're looking out for yourself and bridging that gap from your side as well. And before I get into this, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What are your biggest pain points when it comes to communicating with a dismissive avoidant? So first and foremost, there is a known thing for dismissive avoidant attachment styles called the emotional leg. Dismissive avoidance when there is a conflict in a situation or when there is a higher pressure situation. So things that for a dismissive avoidant create high pressure are things like commitment, putting somebody on the spot, having them make a decision now, some sort of ultimatum, anything that is, sort of sprung on them and that they don't have time to consider or think about, or any time that they feel emotionally in distress, emotionally unsafe because they're in a conflict and conflict's very triggering for them. They process and respond in the best way possible if you are able to be mindful of their emotional leg. What I mean by their emotional leg is that they don't process emotional things in real time the way that you'll see more frequently with other attachment styles. And they definitely don't process things with other people. They need to remove themselves from the situation, take a step back, actually figure out what's going on inside of them and then what they're feeling. And they need to sit on it for a little bit. And once they have, they then show up with literally the highest version of themselves. That's where you're going to get the best version of them participating in a situation. So in that particular scenario, what you want to be able to do is if you have like an ultimatum, if you want to know something, and this is for if you're a fearful, avoidant, or anxious attachment style, like maybe you want to know if the relationship is going somewhere. You want to be sensitive to their emotional leg, but you want to be able to take your needs into consideration at the same time. So this is where you might say something like, look, I know that we've been seeing each other for a little while and I really enjoy spending time with you. And at the same time, I have to be mindful of my own time because I know what I want in this stage of my life. I'm looking for some sort of commitment. It doesn't have to be immediately, but I do need to know that I'm respecting my own time by knowing that we're at least moving in that same direction. So just wanted to put that out there, give you some time to think about it, and maybe we can revisit this conversation in a week or two. And what you're doing by saying that is you're like, look, I know that you need time to process, right? And at the same time, I have my own needs. I have to be respectful of my time. This is something that I'm looking for. And this is under the assumption that that's what you're looking for. Some of you might be watching this video being like, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not even looking for a commitment in this stage of life. And that's great too. Like, but I'm giving you an example, right? It's a hypothetical. So in that case, you want to be mindful that they're going to have an emotional leg. They're not going to do so great with responding to that conversation in real time there. And that's part of why you see if a dismissive avoidant feels like there's a conflict, they try to leave so often. Part of them is trying to leave because they're literally trying to process what they're feeling and they feel like they need space to do that. And they feel like they can't really bring their true thoughts and feelings to the table until they've taken a step back to process and then come back with something constructive. So a lot of times it feels like somebody's just walking away. And of course, there can be an element of that. Sometimes somebody can literally just be avoiding or deflecting. But a lot of times mixed in there for a dismissive avoidant, there's also this need to like take space, process, and then come back with something constructive. Okay. So being mindful of the emotional leg will increase the chances of things being more constructive in the relationship, but making sure that you are talking about your needs too, like using that emotional leg to say, hey, here are my needs. I want to let you know XYZ, according to whatever need you want to communicate. And, take some time to sit on that. Think about it. Let me know in a week or two. I'll follow up with you. And so that way you're still making sure that you are taking up space. The next major piece that's super important is time boxing things. I have to laugh at this one a little bit because it's a small thing that makes all of the difference. I would get couples to do this who came to see me back when I was running my client practice for years, and I would get them to come in and have this conversation. And I would tell the partner of a dismissive avoidant, if you're going to bring up a hard conversation, or if you have a request that you need somebody, you need your dismissive avoidant spouse perhaps to do something around the house, there's sort of a time boxing strategy here that will make things work. Okay. And let me give you a version of this for other attachment styles after, but here's what you do. Okay. Let's say you need your dismissive avoidant partner to do some chores around the house. Maybe it's your spouse, or let's say you want to sit down and plan something, have a hard conversation or make a plan or something that they just don't, that they're not it's not their favorite thing to be doing. Okay. You would sit down and say, hey, I want us to insert the thing that you want them to do some chores around the house, but let's just use the example of, hey, I want us to chat about our plan for the next month and how everything's going to unfold. Why don't we sit down sometime this evening for about 15 minutes and just hash everything out together? Now, why does this matter? Why does saying sometime this evening, 15 minutes? Because sometime this evening, so often, and you'll see this all the time, dismissive avoidants, when they hear somebody say, oh, why don't we sit down together? They hear, oh, you want me to stop everything that I'm doing in this moment exactly and sit down right now and do everything. And they also hear, oh, we're going to sit down for 9 hours in this conversation and I'm going to be trapped. Okay. Now, it's not any different, and I want to be really clear about this, than if you tell an anxious attachment style, oh, I'm going to do something with my friends for the weekend on Saturday night. They're like, oh, I'm never going to hear from you again, or you're never coming back, or, oh my God, when are we going to talk? Each attachment style has a knack, because this is how our core wounds affect us as human beings, right? Our deep triggers and fears affect us. We always jump to the worst case scenario. So an anxious attachment style, if you pull away, they're like, oh my gosh, if you say you're going to go do something, like, oh, I'm never going to see you again. They get anxious, right? And needy. Fearful avoidance have their own version of this. Dismissive avoidance version of this is, oh, you want to sit down and hash something out or have a conversation. I'm going to be trapped in this forever conversation, right? They have this fear. Oh, it's going to take up the whole evening. I'm not going to get anything I'm not going to get any space to do things on my own or to process. They really have this concern. So when you just use a simple act of we're sitting down for 15 minutes, we're sitting down for 10 minutes. Hey, can you take out the garbage? Can you ABC? It'll probably only take you 10 minutes. Or, hey, I need you to spend 15 minutes this week doing these 2 chores. Whatever it is, when you can time box these things, it goes a long way. Now, some of you are going to sit here and be like, and I hear you, right? Some of you are going to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, but I shouldn't have to communicate that way to somebody. I shouldn't have to time box it. This is what we do with attachment theory knowledge. We know, for example, with an anxious attachment style, that if you need space, you have to pair it with reassurance. Hey, I know you, hey, I'm needing some time to myself today, and I might not, chat on the phone tonight, but I love you. I can't wait to talk tomorrow. You pair someone with reassurance. In this case, we're pairing for a dismissive avoidant with time boxing. These are little communication hacks that take all of 3 seconds to do and will literally transform the way things are working. And I'm just going to say it because it's the truth. It's always more work not to do the work. It's always more work to just let things go as they may. And for a lot of people watching this channel, you're in a marriage with somebody and you're just learning about this now and it's been 10 years, and these little tiny hacks can really transform the way things are working. Okay. And for those of you who are dating somebody and getting to know somebody and you're single, you don't have to opt into this stuff, right? You can just try to make sure you find a secure partner and do the work on yourself to make sure that you're secure enough to be with a secure partner, because a lot of times secure people kind of pull away from insecure attachment styles. So you have that path as well, right? It doesn't have to be this thing, but these are great hacks if you're already in a relationship and you love somebody and you're committed and you're trying to sort through these things. They go a very long way, but there's still one more. And then we'll talk about what you can do as an AP or an FA. Now, before I get into point number 3, if you want to become an expert at communication in general and just get so good at conflict with any other attachment style, you can actually check out our How to Thrive in a Conflict course fully for free for a limited time. And if you actually use the spin to win promotion down below, you can even win like a free course for life from PDS, a month-long membership, etc. I'll put that down below if you want to check it out. Here's the last thing, and it's really important. And then we'll talk about what you can do as an anxious attachment style or fearful avoidant. Set a time boundary to revisit topics. So if you know that you're dating somebody dismissive avoidant, or you're in a marriage with them, and you're sitting there going, okay, you know what, I brought up the situation, I want to talk through something, or I want to plan something, or something that you know that they're in a little bit of resistance to, and you see that they may, kind of deflect it and forget about it if they could, right? Set a time boundary so you're taking up space. Say, hey, I know you need some time to process this, or I know that we have to plan this and it's not urgent, but like by Friday at 5 o'clock, I really want to know that we've worked through this. Or by the end of this weekend, I want to make sure that we've had the time to sit down and communicate what time works for you. When you set deadlines, and honestly, this applies to all people, this is not just dismissive avoidance, but when you give people clear timelines, hey, this is when I'm looking to have a conversation by, you are advocating for your needs. You're allowing yourself to take up space in a healthy way. And that allows you to actually get your needs met in these scenarios. I am a big believer in today's busy world where things are very, people are pulled in a million different directions. You get pulled into a whole world on social media every day. Then you've got a whole real world with your kids or families, or for some of you, just dating and the busyness of life that way, and work demands. I mean, we could go on and on. If you want something to be met, you want a need to be met, you want to have a conversation, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to take up a little bit of space sometimes and say, hey, this is really important to me. Here's why. Here's when I want to have this conversation by. And that allows you to actually get seen and heard. So if you're an anxious attachment style or fearful avoidant, you want to be checked in with these things, but I want to make sure that you are also advocating for yourself. So I want you to sit down and I want you to audit. When I'm in a relationship with this person, from 1 to 10, how much are my needs being met? Okay, you have to have an honest look. And question number 2, am I communicating and conveying these needs regularly enough for them to be seen and heard, and for somebody to actually show up and meet them? To make sure the answer is yes to that question. If the answer is no, you want to do more to actually take up space and see your needs through. And number 3, is the needle moving? Okay, and this is a really important question to ask yourself, because if you communicate and you're mindful of somebody else's attachment style and you use this information to be a better communicator, then you better see that the needle's moving from the opposite direction. You better see that this person is actually jumping on board and communicating better with you as well. And if they're not, then we have a problem, right? If they're not, then you're going to just end up in a situation where you're feeling frustrated and you're doing all this work in the relationship alone. So you need to see, okay, is the needle moving? Do I see growth from that person's end? If I give them a little space for that emotional leg, for example, do they come back and have more constructive conversations? Are we growing together? And you want to be looking out for your needs in that process as well. And that will make all of the difference. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for stopping by and for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying it. Share these videos with anybody that you think might benefit from them. And let me know in the comments below if you've ever had this experience and what is working for you, or any follow-up questions that you have. Thanks for watching.